Welcome to the podcast of the impossible. I'm Peter Wood, and my guest today is going to be talking with me about all sorts of things, including magic and, interestingly, magic and martinis. I'm here with Mr. Kourosh, Taie. Magic and martinis. I should have had a martini here.
They go together like peanut butter and jelly.
I love it. And I, as you know, I do a good amount of gigs at the Spy Museum. And so people are always walking around with their martini shaken, not stirred. And what I love about that is that I see how many people do not actually like martinis. They will order that because they're at the Spy Museum and they feel like when in Rome, and then they take a sip of it and they realize that it's just straight up liquor and some olive juice, you know, and that's not everyone's cup of tea.
People are pretty impressionable, aren't they?
I mean, yeah, I can understand wanting to be like, oh, I'm here. I want to pretend to be a spy. I'm going to drink the official drink.
Right.
But it's definitely not, an Italian surfer or, a screwdriver. It's a little tougher, you know. But yeah, so I want to tell me about the Magic and Martinis project.
Yeah, actually, we were talking off the air, and you're like, no, share that on the air.
We need to, yeah.
So I got approached by somebody who's doing a TV series, and the TV series was titled Magic and Martinis. And basically, the premise was similar to Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, where essentially Jerry would go kind of like he'd go pick up a comedian in a car, and the car would be different in every episode. The car was supposed to be like an embodiment of the characteristics of the person. Yeah. So if it was like David Letterman or Howard Stern or whoever it might have been, right. Zach Galifianakis, it'd be like a different car. You go pick him up, and then they just talk comedy, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And the premise was sort of similar. It was like a guy would go to different areas and interview with local magicians. And so, yeah, he approached me. I was like, yeah, I'm down to do it. Cool. But I feel like the order that things happened, it should have been reversed, because first, similar to like how Jerry picks you up in a unique car, the show starts out by he makes you like a unique martini that like is an embodiment of your personality. Oh, cool. And so like I love spicy foods, and even I love spicy drinks, so he made me like a spicy martini with like jalapeno enough. Okay. So we start out by doing this interview, and I'm just drinking this martini and
spice and alcohol right at the top of the interview. Sure.
And then afterward is then he films the segment where I actually go and perform for people.
Oh yeah.
Right? Let's just say I wasn't on my best game that night, right?
Yeah.
And like I was so drunk because I remember I went into this interview, it was like early on. I hadn't had anything to eat. Okay. So I was just drinking on an empty stomach. Oof. And then he goes, all right, we're going to now go film you doing some performances. We're going to go to some bars in like DC and like film you. And was not on my game. I messed up. Rough. Over and over again.
You couldn't have been the first person though. Like, didn't he start to realize, I don't know how many he did, but like that, sure, just as somebody who has not just hearing the pitch of that show, I immediately think like, well, we better get the magic out of the way before the martinis show up.
I think ideally you should get the magic out of the way, then do the martinis part, but no, we did the martinis, then did the magic. And so I'm going out and I'm just like, oh my God, it was bad.
It is funny to me, like I will do, usually it's at a house party event, but sometimes it might be a corporate thing, how my client will come up to me like before the show, before anything gets started. Right. And they're like, what would you like? Can I get you a drink or something? And I'm like, oh, I'm sticking with water. Like, oh, you can do something stronger than water, right? And it's like, well, like, yeah, I can. First of all, like I'm not Ron White. Like I'm the shtick of my show is that I'm not holding a scotch here the whole time. Right. But then on top of that, like literally it has happened to me. It used to happen at like when I would do birthday party shows, like of drinking age. But like, you know, I'm about to do a show for your 8-year-old and their friends. But first you're going to give me liquor. Like, I mean, and I'm lucky enough that I can hold mine and I would be okay with it. But it's like, I don't do that to the plumber, not because I'm trying to be rude, but because
you're trying to get the best out of it.
Right. I want to make sure the plumber does a great job and not cut off any fingers, you know?
Right.
So where is that on? Is that watchable somewhere now? Like,
It is watchable. Actually, it was on Amazon Prime. It got picked up by the Travel Channel.
Oh, cool.
And so I think because of the sort of logistics and the contractual stuff, it got pulled from Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
Because they picked it up. So
gotcha. So it might be like, I mean, you might be able to stream it if you have like I think the Travel Channel or has a streaming platform or
probably
like a paid. I mean, yeah,
right.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
But anyway, I was not on top of my game, so I told the producer, I was like, "Hey, you can't air that. Like, we have to like literally reshoot the entire."
Oh no!
Thing.
Yeah.
He goes, "Nah, it'll be fine."
Fix
I was like, "No, like literally, I just want to do like, let's just spend another day." He's like, and it didn't happen. But thanks to the magic of editing.
Yes. Okay. Good.
When he finally put the final product together,
yeah,
and I was dreading it. I was dreading it.
Yeah.
He put the final product together, and actually, it didn't turn out half bad. It was actually pretty decent.
Awesome.
So actually, some of the footage is in my promo video on my homepage.
Okay.
But yeah, he just edited out all the parts that didn't work, and but if you watch the promo video, I'm pretty lit throughout the whole thing.
And that's not product in use. Like even if you are doing a house party show. Now you're probably not going to be kicking back a few martinis.
No,
before
and like you, I go to events and people will offer me stuff, and I like turn it down. Now, it's nice of them to offer.
Sure,
but like,
absolutely.
I just want to be on top of my game.
Yep.
And also, there's like part of me that's like, oh, it's not professional. I shouldn't accept.
Yeah. No. Even how do you feel about eating at a gig? Like,
okay,
what's your?
So I go to events, and there's like a lot of times they're catered, and there's like all this amazing food, like mouth-watering food, right? And they'd be like, please help yourself. But I feel like I shouldn't, right? And so I was like, you know what? I'll maybe after the event, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that would be more appropriate. Like I definitely don't want to be eating like while I'm like during the time I'm supposed to be performing.
Sure.
Unless there's some like sort of like intermission or where like, you know, I'm strolling and then there's going to be like a dinner break and then a show. But usually by the time I'm done, all the catered food has been taken away.
Right.
And that's always such a bummer.
Yeah.
Sometimes clients will be kind enough, and it's not usually, they'll be kind enough to set aside a plate for me.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
I love those clients.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Well, especially if it's a to-go container.
Oh, when they give me a carry-out plate.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
I am just like over the moon.
Well, and there's just something about... And it might be a pride thing. I don't know. But like, or I would always hate, I feel honestly that feel the same way with food as I do about tips, which is, I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't want someone to think that the reason I'm there is for the tips or, you know, so-and-so promised that I could have free food and drink if I came and did some magic.
I have another barrier. Yeah. I come from a Middle Eastern culture.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry. For our audio only listener, no, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm Iranian, Persian Iranian, right? So, and like in my culture, we have this thing where like we're not supposed to accept anything.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like when if somebody offers you something as a customer, that we like turn it down. Yeah. It doesn't even matter if we want it. Like, it doesn't matter how badly we want it. Like, if somebody offers you food and you're starving, in my culture, you turn it down. If you're thirsty and somebody offers you a drink, you go, oh, no, thank you. Because it's all about, like, not troubling.
Right.
You don't want to inconvenience the other person. And, like, and like, in my culture, like, you're constantly trying to offer, and then the other person's supposed to refuse. Right?
Okay,
and I grew up in this culture. And I'm not, like, a traditional person, but, like, some of this part of this is ingrained to me. So, like, when it comes to accepting things, it's hard for me.
Yeah.
Including tips.
Right.
And so like a lot of people I know, like somebody offers a tip, they're just like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Be like, oh no, that's not necessary.
Yep.
You know. And I'm trying to get better about accepting tips. So I'm like, I used to just keep it like, no, thank you. It's not necessary at all. I appreciate the gesture. But then they keep insisting. So basically I was told if they keep insisting, just gracefully accept.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a hard.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot at like restaurant type stuff. But occasionally I'll cover for like a friend who has a restaurant gig, and it does seem to come up there more than at a regular event because they're in the mindset of like, oh, here there's another.
You know, one thing when I have worked restaurants, and I haven't worked restaurants in a while, but when I have worked restaurants, one of the things I like to do and it doesn't benefit me necessarily, but a lot of times I will insist that they give the tip to the server.
Yeah, 100%. That's great.
Um,
I think that's good. The server appreciates it.
the server appreciates it,
You
for
got the
sure.
appreciation. You understand that they thought that you were worth more than
Right.
just whatever the restaurant's paying you.
Right.
So you still got the satisfaction of the compliment,
Right.
and they got the satisfaction of, I really enjoyed what this person is doing, and I want to show my gratitude.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it seems like a win all around.
Have you worked restaurants?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where I did a monthly restaurant gig. But then now, anytime I'm working a restaurant, it's just to fill in for a friend who has the night off or something.
Yeah. Did you like
so, yeah.
working restaurants?
So it's a pros and cons. I
Right,
mean,
like anything.
yeah, I haven't. So what I enjoyed, anytime you're doing strolling magic, I feel like it's easier to get better faster because of the number of reps that you're putting in.
Right.
If I'm doing a 45-minute stage show, then I only get to practice that routine once. When I say practice, I mean like paid practice in front of an audience. Whereas when you're walking around doing up close magic, you can do something, dozens of times in an evening.
Right.
So I appreciated that, and I liked there were regulars enough that it definitely prompted me to come with at least one new thing every night, right?
Right.
And so that did help with giving me reason to not just get stuck in a rut and do the same 4 tricks over and over again.
Right.
But the timing, the dynamic of when to swoop in, like you don't want to slow down the table turnover at all.
Correct.
And so it has to be, but it's very hard to be working with this group and you're having a good time with them, but then over there you see that group is ordering right now, so you should probably get over there now. It's a lot more to juggle, and it's tough.
Definitely. I learned a lot from working restaurants, and part of this is thanks to our friend Brian Curry, who used to work a restaurant gig, and sometimes he couldn't make it, so he'd ask me to fill in.
Nice.
And I was terrible at the beginning. Like I would walk up to a table, and my approach was not good, and I would get rejected.
Oh
right?
yeah, okay.
Like, oh no, thank you. It took me a while to get comfortable, find the right approach, and come in with enough confidence. Eventually I got to a point where like nobody turned me down.
Awesome. Yeah.
But at the beginning I get turned down a lot because it's like, hey, I'm a magician. Can I show you guys a trick? Like, no, thank you.
Right.
And because it just seems intrusive.
Yeah. It's like you're walking around selling flowers or something.
No, but I learned a lot, and Brian gave me a ton of tips on like good approach and a good like opening line and how to like come in with the right body language so they're not feeling uncomfortable, because there's this like bubble and you don't want to invade it.
Right.
So body language is important. Your approach is important. Like the confidence you come in with is important. Winning them over right off the bat. But no, working in restaurants is a wonderful way to like get your chops up.
Sure. Yeah.
And like just learn how to approach a table of people who are like not expecting you to be doing something.
Right.
And I think part also like there might be a thing where because you're at a restaurant, they might be expecting that they like it's gonna cost them something.
Yeah. I think that's
so
that's
to,
important.
Like, make sure they know that like this is free.
Yeah.
They're
not expected to tip
Did you get a good amount of? Did you get gigs from doing restaurants?
No, disappointingly, and I probably, I mean, this was over, I don't know, 15 years ago now. I mean, it's been a while, and I've certainly learned more about marketing and branding since then.
Yeah.
But I found that people had a hard time, well, just in general, I've continued to find this. Potential clients usually do not have a good imagination about.
They can't picture you outside of that.
Yep.
They can't picture you outside of that setting to envision you doing a gig outside of the restaurant.
Or even if they picture you like walking around at a house party, they can't picture you standing on stage for 45 minutes doing a static show. And so I did try to, you learn little tips and tricks about like, and when I do this in my big, in my stage show, I'll say blah blah blah, like sort of planting little seeds for them.
Right. You plant seeds so they know you do other things other than
Yeah, than just hanging out this. But I
other than walking around Applebee's.
Right. Yeah. No, but I didn't. And the other thing, I worked, it was a monthly gig for probably about 2 years, is how often I did it. So I also wonder if like, I know my friend Dave Thoman, who is in the Hampstead, Maryland area. There's a great restaurant called Green Mountain Station. He's there every Wednesday night. Talk about a rapport. Like there are people who come just to chat with Dave on a Wednesday night, and he might not even do a trick, but those folks are certainly thinking of him when it's time for them to have some special event. And they're like, oh, what about Dave? Because like, I mean, they know his name. Like he's not just a special thing that happened every now and then, but yeah, it is really funny. The lack of imagination. I think people are just like, and on my website, I want to make sure that I've got a variety of photos and videos, because if they don't see me doing my thing in an environment that's similar to what they're going to be booking, then they might not think that I'm a good fit.
They're not going to make that leap.
Right. And I'm even amazed. I did a trade show, a political convention. It was like the CPAC, I think. I mean, it was like I did a political convention in Crystal City, Virginia, and it was because of a birthday party show that I did. And I was like 15. I know that I wasn't old enough to drive. Like my dad, 8. And, the fact that I was doing like a kid's birthday party show, and then the dad was like, you know what I need to get in my booth for political action is this kid, and so like every now and then a client will surprise you with that, where they'll sort of see potential in a way that like, I was definitely not advertising that I was a trade show magician for sure. I didn't even really know that thing existed. But usually they can't picture you. If you're walking around at a company party, it still might even blow their mind that you walk around in a house party. Like just that is too much of a leap for them, but back to educating them, I guess, right? Like letting them, and do you find that like, again, when you're doing corporate stuff versus house party, do you find that one sort of begets the other, or do you find any level of cross-pollination? Like are there corporate clients who invite you to a private event and vice versa?
I've had it happen.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done private events where they like, you know what? I think this would be awesome for our company event.
Yeah.
Or, vice versa. I did a corporate event and people hire me. It just depends. I guess it depends on the client.
Sure.
So yeah, it happens from time to time. Getting repeat bookings is always interesting for, especially if you're doing like a group or a stage show, because, by the way, do you keep track of the material you performed at an event?
I do.
I do now.
Yeah.
Because I hated the feeling it'd be like, oh my goodness, what did I perform last time?
Yeah, right.
Because you don't want to do crossover material. Usually, though, I'm overthinking it because I don't want to go back to an event with like having the same audience and then doing the same material. Realistically, like at this point, enough time has passed, they don't remember.
Yeah.
But I don't, and so now I literally keep track of my entire set list. So I could be like, oh, I performed this last time. And the other thing I'm getting good about is like, let's say I have a set list and I end up cutting stuff for time. I'll now like notate that too. And
right.
Be like, okay, I did this, but I cut this out, so now I can do this.
Same. You can save it for next time.
That's come in really handy.
Yeah.
So just taking detailed notes.
No, I think that's, well, and it is, I agree. Like on the one hand, that feels professional. On the other hand, I don't think it matters quite as much, where if somebody remembers what you did a year ago, hopefully it's because they liked it.
Right.
Like, or they really hated it. I mean, either way, they're passionate about it.
But there are certain things where what we do has a surprise factor.
Yeah.
If they've seen it already, the surprise factor is gone.
Yeah.
So it actually does hurt the effect when they know what's about to come.
Totally.
And one of the things that like actually kills me is if I perform a certain routine for an audience and the ending is like the part that destroys, because the expectation, they have no idea it's about to come.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times magic is about suspense and surprise. And then they go, hey, do that trick where this happens.
Right. Where the bill ends up in the lemon.
It's like, oh my God, why did you say that?
Yeah.
Now I can't do it, because now if they're expecting the bill to end up, it's like literally giving a movie spoiler. Like,
right.
hey, you should watch this movie where the guy like dies at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why'd you say that?
There's this great movie
that way.
Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. It's a great film. You should watch it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean that's how they
watch that movie where Bruce Willis is a ghost the entire time.
Yeah. No, they'll remember the punchline, which is fine. I mean, that's good. Well, I also don't know. We'll share with our listener here a little bit of inside baseball where there are tricks that we do where the outcome is the same every time, right? Occasionally it's happened, but with enough advanced prep can switch that ending up. Like we can make it so it is a different outcome than the last time they saw it. And a lot of times so I will include notes about that sort of thing as well, where if somebody sees it a second time around and just a very simple example is like, if they remember the card trick and they remember that it was the ace of spades last time, if it's not the ace of spades, they're
unlikely to remember the card value. But
a card's not a good example because that's not. That's easy. Even if they loved it, it's probably forgettable. But if it was a visual punchline that they remember, then I'm always trying to think about, okay, but can I do the same intro? Can I ramp it up the same way? But then the ending of it, because if anything, that kind of messes with them even more. Where they're like, well, wait. Last time he did it, it was blah, blah, blah. But this time it's blah, blah, blah. So clearly it must not be the same thing every time.
Right.
When in reality it is, but I'm just, I'm
making a slight modification.
Right. I was doing, I did a show in Elkton, Maryland. Elkton Magic is a organization there. My friend Jobeth has been on this podcast before talking about what he's doing there. And it reminds me, I have a moment in the show that is like this, right? Where it's an outcome that ends up being the same, right? So what the person who was running the theater was watching me unload my props for the second show. So I did 2 shows, one on a Thursday night, one on a Friday night. When I went home on Thursday, before I came back, I purposefully switched around this ending, right? Okay. So this guy who watched the show last night is watching me just unpack my stuff, just getting ready. And I don't say anything and he doesn't say anything, but I had brought both outcomes with me. So what he sees me prep was the same as the night before, right? Okay. But then what I actually prepped was a brand new outcome.
Was that intentional or?
Yeah, just to kind of mess with them a little bit. Like the point was, I wasn't sure if anyone would be watching, but, and so what's great is I recorded on video both shows and you can hear his audible reaction when we get to that punchline and it is a completely different outcome from what it was the night before.
Love that.
And he comes up to me afterwards and he was like, "You son of a," and and literally he had the realization like, wait, was that just for me? Like I saw you setting up before the show, but I didn't say anything. Is that? And I was like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It was.
By the way, we're in this profession where like when people cuss us out, that is like the greatest compliment.
That's true. That's true. If they're swearing at you and walking away from you, that usually is a positive thing.
It's a great reaction.
Yeah. I'm gonna walk away from you right now. I'm not going to swear though. I'm just gonna walk away.
Monster.
But before I do, we should let people know though, if they want to follow all of your social media adventures, for public shows and things like that, the handle is It's Mr. Magic Man. So ITSMR Magic Man on the social medias. That's also Kourosh's website. So it's mrmagicman.com is the best place to find out about all your fun stuff. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Podcast of the Impossible. But for my public shows and social media and the Museum of the Impossible Project and more, head on over to oftheimpossible.com. I'm Peter Wood, and I hit the music too early, so I'm just going to say thanks.